They Say What They Can't Radio.
Welcome back, world. Y'all already know what y'all tuned into the Moving Forward podcast once again.
Yes.
I'm here with two beautiful sisters.
You got two girls, two episodes. Wait, why are you choosing that already?
I feel so
two
good.
Girls, two episodes back to
we
back.
doing good, and I've spoken into existence. I was like, yo, I got to start bringing more women into the show.
So who we have here?
My name is Rhoxy Lezama.
Thank you so much for being here. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name's Rhoxy. Like I said, I'm a Brooklyn-based fashion designer.
And a model.
Yeah. And I do a little bit of A&R management on the side as well, but that's, different time.
I know, about it. You can talk about it all. It's called the Moving Forward, baby.
Modeling and music is hand in hand.
It kind of goes hand in hand. I style my artists, So I just like to call myself a fashion engineer.
Okay.
Nice. I love that title, fashion engineer. I think that encompasses
everything
it all.
fashion.
Yes.
Right.
So you have a show coming up.
Yes.
Tell us about your show.
So, like I said, with being a fashion engineer, I don't just do the designing, but I'm also coordinating the entire show. So it is next week, October 16th on Sunday at 5 p.m.
Get your tickets, people.
Yes.
Your tickets.
Get your tickets. It's on my website, roxylezama.com, or you can get on Eventbrite or through me. And
we'll also have the link up on our page as well so that people can go ahead and support. And you're wearing your brand right now.
Yes,
It's
I'm wearing
giving.
a few things on my brand right now. It didn't even drop yet. Honestly,
That's
I kind
fire.
of just finished it.
So are we going to see that on the show?
Yes, you'll see a few of these on the show. So it's like a fall winter line. So you're gonna get your mixtures of your bombers and your jackets and everything. I'm a reflective queen. I love everything reflective or silver. So be sure to see a lot of that.
People going to spot you.
Exactly. The afro and silver. Like, yep, that's Rhoxy. I see you.
You got the Macy Gray look going. I know you probably hear that a lot.
I get that a lot. I actually do, yeah.
Did she kind of motivate you to rock the hair out? Like, what made you want to rock the hair?
Like as an afro, I literally, story behind why I went natural. I was just having dreams about it every day, like every other day. And I woke up and naturally I just shaved my head just very spontaneously. It wasn't like a decision. It wasn't like inspiration.
You shaved it bald at first, and then this is the
full
new
bald.
growth.
Yeah, this is like 3 years or so.
The new Rhoxy.
Yeah, the new Rhoxy. I think it fits with the name too.
Right. Yeah,
the Rhoxy,
it's definitely
the
a
fro.
vibe.
Yeah.
So you're having your fashion show this upcoming weekend, and I guess I have some curiosities because I know New York Fashion Week was in September. So was this intentional for you to hold this? I know you, so I know you've been doing fashion shows for a hot minute.
Yeah.
I know a lot of Black and up-and-coming designers are now doing their shows, and whether or not they're getting the big bucks, they're still doing it during the same time. So what was your thought process of having it in October?
So I always this is my 5th show that I'm throwing, my 3rd one by myself. So I always do it usually in February Fashion Week or September Fashion Week, but mainly February. But, I think I got FOMO, honestly. I kept seeing everybody else, like, going out and having fun. I'm like, yo, I didn't get to go out for Fashion Week in years because I'm, like, throwing these events.
Gotcha.
So I originally, even with this show, it was supposed to be September 18th, the last day of Fashion Week. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go out this time. I'm going to, like, have fun. I'm going to go to these events, and I'm going to get inspired, not necessarily with the clothing, because I kind of had the idea of where I was going to go with my clothes, but more so just production of the show.
Gotcha.
So I actually purposely didn't. I wanted to be outside this fashion week. I wanted to be everywhere.
You was outside.
Yeah.
So what was your favorite show? Or what was your favorite event that you went to during Fashion Week?
I would say the Adore Me show.
The lingerie?
The lingerie. Yeah, because I liked the production of it. I liked how it looked. I think that's the show.
You like the ass and titties, Rhoxy? Is that where
I was actually talking about the stage, I swear, I promise. But I liked the whole production that they had. I thought it inspired this show the most, I would say. Just how it looked and like how it was set up. I was like, you know what, I'm going to do this. Not this time, but the next time. Because they had like 600 people or so out there.
That's big.
Is it a reason that you, first of all, you used to do the runways, right? Is it a reason why you switched and like wanting to be a fashion designer without modeling someone else's brand?
It actually started the other way around. I was a designer when I was 16. My sister and I, we were musicians. I used to play the drums. She's a producer, keyboard. She plays everything. But we had like a music inspired clothing line first.
Okay.
And when I was 16, I didn't really know a lot of people. So when I would like try to do photo shoots and stuff, I ended up just doing it myself because I didn't really know models or anything. So with that, I kind of got exposure with being a model, even though I had like a t-shirt hoodie line. So it was more so being a designer first, and then it opened the door for runway and print. And then when she decided to go full into producing, that's when I changed the name of the line to my name. And yeah, so it's kind of like a back and forth, which I still do to this day.
How hard is it to get into the modeling industry?
I
Don't
think
be scared.
it's pretty difficult. At least when I started. I don't want to sound old, but when I started, I feel like it was a little bit more difficult because we didn't have social media.
Yeah.
And then you had to look a certain way. Like it didn't matter about numbers. It didn't matter about who you know. You had to look. You had to have the height. You had to have the size. And even with me, I was 5'2". I was, tiny when I started, but I think it was very difficult for me just because of my height. So that's why I kind of I always loved fashion, but that's why I kind of I guess went more into the designing side. But now I feel like I'm getting booked more as a model now that it's more inclusive. I guess with height, and I gained weight and all of this other stuff that they would years ago not really
And they
care
want
for.
now.
Yeah, now it's like in to be how
Yeah,
we
that's what I'm
look.
saying. It's in the had a Serena backside now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Before they wanted the pancake, if you had the fatty, it was over.
Pretty much.
They
Pretty
was like,
much.
what? Wait, no, you weigh too much.
But I do think it's easier now. You could just post a picture and it could go viral, and now it's
Right.
like you're a model.
Right.
People's mugshots are
So
going
is it
viral.
like are the terms like a lot looser?
I think the terms are looser.
Wait, because they have like subgenres though. So you have like your IG model, you have your runway model, editorial model. Like I
Right.
feel like it's just so many categories now.
Yeah,
Right.
I feel like high fashion has made a turn for urban. Like urban used to be like,
Girl, that's a whole other
one
topic.
demographic, and then high fashion would be another. I feel like there's this intertwined thing that happened over the past few years, where I feel like in that you can't say, yeah, I would like the urban clothes, but I don't like the urban models. So I feel like now they're pushing
Because
for.
we're not allowing for appropriation.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So I feel like, it's more inclusive. And also, like I said, with social media, I feel like that generally helped as well.
Yes. So how do you use your social media to leverage your brand?
I feel like my social media is only my brand. Like everything that I do is strategic. Even if it's something that has nothing to do with my brand, it's always beneficial to it some way, somehow. And one thing that I did enjoy doing, like I said, with artist development, is just marketing their social media as well, and just understanding algorithm and understanding things like that, so that it can help push, like knowing when to put a flyer out, knowing when to throw a show, knowing what time to post, and certain things like that. So I try to use it mainly for my business. My Facebook is different, I guess.
Is
It's
that
more
more
like
personal?
family,
Okay.
yeah. But my social media, people can guess who I am from my social media. I don't care. Like I kind of put out an image on my social media
it's
or on my
intentional.
Instagram,
Yeah.
rather than Facebook.
Okay. Yeah, I love that. I find that pretty difficult for me to do. So I love when I see other people successfully
Yeah.
knocking that out.
I feel like maybe too because I'm a Gemini, so maybe one of my
You can split it,
personalities
you can
is for
split it, you can
Instagram, the
go
other one of my
IG.
personalities is for
I don't even
Facebook.
use Facebook anymore. Flow's on Facebook.
Yeah.
Flow's
I
on
love
Facebook. But
Yeah.
I feel like
I
I'm
love
like I could
Facebook.
be telling my age, but like I was on Facebook when it was only college.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm the bye. Good night,
Yeah.
Facebook.
You tired of it? You tired of
It's
it?
elderly. It's the nursing home
Right.
of the social media.
It is kind of trash, but
I
I
wouldn't say
love
trash.
it. I love all the
First of all,
interactions that I
Zuckerberg
get.
owns it all, the old and the
Yeah.
new.
Right.
So I'm not gonna really
Right.
say that. I just like for me, it's just really old. Like for
Yeah.
me. So and but I do still find it hard. But I think it's also because you have a pretty solid niche. When you have a pretty solid niche, I think IG is very powerful
Yeah.
because you can really push yourself on that way.
Yeah.
So you had a casting call today. Oh my God,
Yes.
why wasn't I there? How do people find out about your casting calls in the future, or like what do you want?
So, well, my casting call was last month. My fitting was today.
Your fitting was today, okay.
So, but For my castings, that's another thing with social media, especially with Facebook. Even though I'm more active as far as my brand on Instagram, I feel like Facebook has a lot of groups with thousands of people all in
Yes,
my
that is
niche.
true.
Like you said, it might be a little bit more difficult to find that, even if you, let's say, hashtag on Instagram. It's harder to find New York, or it's harder to find Brooklyn, or this side. So on Facebook, I feel like I'm in like all of these groups for models. Where it's like I put out a casting call, and I get a great turnout all the time. So majority of the time it's either on my website. You can always see flyers for my advertisements for castings or even vendors or whatever on my website or on my social media.
Are you looking for a special type of person to model your clothes?
The most important thing for my models to be is themselves. I want people that know who they are and can project that onto the runway.
Saying like they don't have to have a 6-pack.
No, they actually don't, because like I said, I started modeling first, so it would be very like contradicting to be like, okay, you have to be 5'9" and a size 0. No, I'm very inclusive with my line because I always wanted to be that model that could walk for this person or that person. So when I do get people that I see that reminds me of myself, I like to bring them in on my team as well.
Is it so? How many people do you have like on your panel when you're doing your casting call? Is it like Housewives of Atlanta when Kenya Moore was like, no,
No,
turn around?
I don't think I'm that.
Do you have some? Like, maybe not you, but who's your Simon Cowell? That's
So
like
my Simon Cowell in this one, and he was gonna come with me too. I would say my assistant for this one, he's my assistant just for this show, but he's a whole fashion designer by himself. He's amazing. I think he's like my Simon Cowell.
because you need that.
Yeah. Sometimes even Juvie, I feel like my business partner, he's like, very stern, but I'm always like, oh no, it's okay. I'm very
Right.
soft spoken, but then
Right.
I'm like, oh no, like this is a waste of
Somebody has to be
time.
the one,
Yeah, but yeah, I usually have my entire team, because even though I have different people on my team for different jobs, I like to have them all inclusive, because everyone on my team wants to either throw shows or be a fashion designer. So I like, with having a team, also showing them the ins and outs of what I do.
Okay,
So.
I love that.
Now, being a model, I know you run into all kind of people that want to take your pictures and stuff like that. Hey, you want to shoot? Hey, come to the studio.
Yeah.
What do you do when you run into that horny photographer?
Like the inappropriate.
Yeah, the inappropriate.
Honestly, and I
that
thank
you know
God.
it's more than just pictures. What do you do?
I thank God for my manager now, because I'd be like, yeah, take my number. And then it's the dude picking up, like,
Right.
But before, like I said, I feel like I just grew into this, like, more stern personality with how, I guess, with my success. Because before I would be like, try to say no nicely. But sometimes doing that even is just not it. So it's just like, I'll just ignore them, honestly. My scene button is real. Like,
has anyone
scene
ever-
at 4:32 p.m. and you'll stay right there.
Has anyone ever tried you in person? Like, have you ever had an awkward situation where you had to assert yourself or where you felt unsafe?
I feel like, because I started early, I had a very strong support system. But I feel like, I don't know, people say I get it from my mother, but sometimes I just feel like I have that face where people don't try. I hear stuff about people so many times that I work with, and I'm just like, they did what to you? Like, I don't know why people don't try me.
No,
I thank
that's-
God,
that's
but
good.
like,
Yeah, that's good because you hear horror stories.
yeah, I've heard horror
I hear a lot
stories
of
about
horror
people
stories,
who I don't want to say names, but I've worked with, multiple times, multiple horror stories, and I'm just like,
So can we like dig a little bit deeper into that, because that's kind of real.
Yeah,
Like,
let's talk about the horror stories.
I think not because I don't want to out anyone
Yeah.
per
Right,
se,
right.
but there is a thing of you're like holding your peers accountable. I'm not really saying it right, or just like how do you deal with it when you might know someone who has behaved inappropriately. They have never done it in your presence or never done it with you. But like, what do you do in those circumstances? Because it's kind of like the thing in like the rape culture where so many guys know that their homeboys are inappropriate
Right.
and they don't really check them. It never happened in front of them. This is the thing. So like, how do we move forward? Speaking of the moving forward,
Forward.
how do we move forward with shit like that? Because it's very awkward.
yeah, I feel like, I actually was having a conversation about this with my business partner again, Juvie, and one of my other business
I don't
partners.
know why you act like you want to come up here, by the way.
We were in
Through the camera.
It was a few of us in the car, and we were talking about said person who did said things, and he said something that really stuck with me. It's like, well, if you guys are saying all of these things about these people, why are you still working with them?
Right.
And sometimes because people are higher up in an industry, you tend to, close your eye or like look away from certain things that they're doing. But it really stuck with me where it's like, I already was like, I don't want to work with this person anymore. But it really stuck with me with how moving forward on certain things, because it's like you could only cancel people who you support. So if you stop supporting them, they'll cancel themselves. You don't have to out them and be like, oh, this is,
Right.
I feel like sometimes even with the Me Too movement, there's a lot of models who say certain things, but there's a lot of models who also do certain things for a said person. So it's like, we can in the circle talk about it so that, people are cautious.
Yeah.
But I feel like just stop working with them as a whole. Like we all need to come together to stop working with certain people.
I love that you said that.
So-
I think that a lot of people are taking that route. Like I know Beyonce recently didn't work with a whole slew of producers if they had any sort of like reputation.
Yeah.
Like you said, she didn't announce the shit. She just didn't
don't
work with
work
you.
with- yeah.
Like if you was on the agenda, baby, you are not one.
Yeah.
You're not
You
one
know what's
anymore.
going on. I don't,
Yeah.
it don't got to be broadcast. You know
You
why
know-
I'm not
you know
dealing
why
with
I'm not
you.
working
There's
with
a
you.
lot of fucking shitty people in the music industry and in the fashion industry, and just like people trying to get on. It's like a lot of shitty people.
And that's another thing too. It's like a
They
lot of
use that.
people, sometimes you look at it and it's like, oh, I'm not working with such person because, they do this or they do that. But then sometimes it's a hindrance to you because they're going to keep succeeding because there are
That's a
people
fact.
who
That
will
they're
do
gonna continue to work with
certain
them.
things,
Yeah.
or who would continue to work with them. So sometimes because of being Mr. or Mrs. Morale, it's
Yeah.
like now you're stagnant. But it's also about, being able to go to sleep at night and looking in the mirror and being like, I like that person. I can like that person when I go to sleep. I didn't do anything that jeopardized how I feel about myself. So
That is like the being stuck between a rock and a hard place right there
Yeah.
in the world that we're in, because you do sacrifice, and you might even sacrifice your success by not going along to get along, because so many people are willing to do that.
Right.
yeah.
I mean, and I get it, because
Yeah.
everybody's trying to eat.
Yeah.
So I
Everybody.
understand.
But it's like, what are you really gaining when you just like lose yourself? I like myself too much to like give myself
That's right.
away to people, like just
Right.
energy wise,
And the chickens always come home to roost.
Mm-hmm.
Do they not? I mean, like we can name a whole
doubt.
slew of people who
No
like
doubt.
50 years later, and we're
That
like,
come
but
right
what
back.
happened to 50 years?
Right.
That's the chickens coming home,
Yeah,
baby. Like
that's
that's what
right.
happened.
That's right.
So
Yeah.
you might be better off. It might take
Yeah.
you a little longer, but you're gonna get there, and then you're gonna have less baggage. You know.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to your show. So like, what should the
too.
people what should the guests wear? I have so many people as I shared your show around. Oh, so like, what do I wear? I'm like, I don't know, go cop some Rhoxy shit. Like, I don't know.
I mean, you could go to
What-
RoxyLezama.com.
Right.
But like
What's the
I
name of your brand?
Rhoxy Lezama. That's
All
my
right.
that's my nickname, or my childhood nickname with my last name.
Okay.
But like I said, I'm all for people being themselves. I'm all for people liking themselves. I love me, so I want people to love themselves. It's a fashion event. I think for fashion events, people should be expressive.
Yeah.
Express yourself however you want. Wear what you want to express yourself. The most you outfit that you have, I think that's what you should wear.
Right. How hard is it to get inside the fashion business, being a person of color, letting them know that you're serious, you're not just a regular person off the
Yeah.
block that's going to be here today and going tomorrow?
Yeah.
How important is it to
I
to
think-
stamp your foot on this ground?
I feel like I'm still doing that, but I don't I want to say this without sounding like narcissistic, but I don't look to be a part of anything, and that's why I throw my own shows. This is Rhoxy Lezama 3 fashion show. This is the, like I said, 5th show that I've thrown, the 3rd by myself. I don't need to be a part of another fashion show. I can make my own. So it's like, it gets to the point that as an urban designer, you try to, the same thing with trying to fit in, and you're working with these people that you don't really want to work with, but because it's beneficial, you want to work with. No, I just do it myself,
Right.
and people are going to see it, and people are going to respect it. This is my 3rd one, and
That's right.
everyone, they're going to respect it more and more and more. So I don't think it's like a door that I'm trying to break into. I'm kind of creating my own door
Yes.
in a way.
Well, hello, and knocking them down. While we're at it.
Period.
So what do you feel about replicas?
Replicas, as far as
Like the fashion replicas. I feel like this is the big thing in the headlines right now. Like people don't care anymore about buying fake shit. Like not. I don't want to say. I don't want to say like. I don't want to say. Let me frame this properly because in urban culture we make a big deal about things.
Yeah.
And I mean that's a whole other psychology.
Yeah.
So it's a little less acceptable where we stand, but the others, the Caucasians of the world,
Right.
and the others that are infiltrating into our culture, like I see on IG, they be like wearing it just look at, but how all kinds of ways.
And that's the thing again with like social media. It's like, I use social media for marketing, but some people just use social media to look a certain way. It's different. It's a different strategy to market yourself a certain way and then be another person, And I feel as though you have to be this person for people to think you're successful. And, I guess that's their niche. I like to make my own shows. People like to buy fake stuff.
Right.
I don't know, but
I don't know if you
It's
do
like-
watch Euphoria.
yes, I do.
Like there was a one episode where the costume designer put Maddie, which was a main character, in like that Louis Vuitton.
It was a fake.
Yeah, because they don't make that, but it was
Right.
like a
Yeah.
spandexy, like crazy sexy, but it had the LV print all over it.
I
and I
actually-
couldn't know how I felt about it. I didn't know, like, was I annoyed or was I like, oh, okay.
You don't think
When
they
it
did that from
comes
Dapper Dan?
to exactly, yeah, I was
Yeah,
thinking
they
that. Like when it
stealing
comes to
from
Dapper
stuff like
Dan
that,
wasn't making fake shit. Dapper
he would
Dan was
take
taking
real-
real
Yeah, he would take
materials
real
and
material.
redesigning it. So I don't really want to consider that fake because it's the same thing. Like this was basically like a spandex moment with like the LV
Just the
monogram
print.
on it. Yeah.
yeah, and that's
man.
why it's so. It's just the keeping up with the Joneses. I feel because the outfit I'm sure would have been nice just because of how you created it as a stylist or as a designer, just creating it. Why do you have to? Why are we so obsessed with these brands that we have to put these brand logos for somebody to like it? Like that, I'm actually kind of confused about that as well with myself. I have done it, like even for COVID. When I first started making face masks throughout
Yeah,
the whole
everybody
of
wanted the face
quarantine,
masks,
it's
yeah.
like everyone was like, "Oh, the Gucci one,"
Right,
and I'm
right.
like, "Okay, I have the site to get whatever,"
Right.
but it got to the point I'm like, I'm not doing this anymore, and then I just put my
Right.
logo on it, like
Right.
my tags. I'm like,
Right.
I can't tell whether I care or not. Like,
Yeah.
I can't decide. I can't decide.
Yeah.
But I have another question. Speaking of
Talk
things
about
on-
it. Talk
on
about
clothes.
Because I got some too.
what you think about we got to talk about it. I hate to bring it up, but
Kanye.
what we think about the White Lives Matter.
I knew that was happening. I was fiending to say this.
I'm one of those die-hard Kanye supporters. Like I support Kanye. I feel like he does no wrong. But this one, this one right here, it just didn't really.
It didn't land.
It didn't land for me. And I'm just like waiting because like now I'm seeing more celebrities wearing these White Lives Matter shirts and there's something on the front of it. So I don't know if there's some like hidden message or like they're about to drop something that means something else. But either way, it's like, it's such a touchy subject.
hurts. It hurts.
That you should probably explain something before you do it. I think there's some creative, like I said, with Geminis, they talk themselves in and out of things. So it's like I'm sure he's gonna bamboo everyone out of this too. But
He's
it's
gonna
like,
get his way. He's gonna make his way out of it.
yeah.
I got the point of the BLM as a nonprofit and the whole issue with that. Trust me, I understand where he's coming from. I just don't understand that lane to talk about that issue. I don't think
Right.
the two have to meet or
Right.
marry
I
for you
just-
to just out that. And I mean, also, do we care about nonprofits taking a bag? This is what the other people have been doing for so long.
Rolex is a nonprofit.
Hell,
I don't know if people know about like Rolex, the
Something. You just put me
$40,000 to $100,000 watch is a nonprofit. So it's like, I had told somebody after the whole White Lives Matter thing with Kanye, I'm like, people in Brooklyn or New York especially still wear Timberland boots and the
That's the
tree
tree
is
that's
a
the tree that
slave
hang
hanging.
people.
Exactly. So it's like, are you
Yeah.
going to support the white racists or the black racists? Are you going to support the black guy doing cool shit or the white people? And it's like, you could just support neither, but I think that's why people still would support Kanye. Like
H&M with the black face.
Yeah, like
they all got their
every
moments
brand
of
is doing, so it's
of
like,
cooning
it's just
and
because he's
shit.
black that we put under a microscope, but it's like, not saying that it's correct or it's right, but, it's one of those that are just
So
like,
do we give him a pass?
I feel like people are going to give him a pass regardless. I feel like as a community, we need to say something about this. Like he needs to, because he hears certain things, I'm sure, when like it's unanimous. But
They
I
all
feel like
do it.
do we stop buying his stuff? Or
I
because if
think
we
I
do
think
stop
I think
buying it,
instead we
are
need
we
to
gonna?
say to the BLM, a nonprofit, listen, open up a pro bono section. I don't care what y'all do with the money, get rich or die trying. I don't really
Right.
care.
Right.
But have something that where these activists are getting arrested, that their attorneys are free. That's all.
Yeah.
Make
Right.
them just do something.
And that's another thing too. Like with Kanye, he's a billionaire at this point
Yeah, what
now.
are you
So it's
doing,
like
sir? Besides your school, and it's looking very cultish.
Right.
And I love Kanye. I do. I love Kanye, but I'm like, I gotta call a thing a thing as well.
yeah, I feel like when like certain things happen in the black community with police brutality or certain things like that, you see Johnson and Johnson. When you look at who's paying the lawyers,
Yes.
it's Johnson and Johnson. It's
Oh, it's
this
always these
major
major
brand
companies,
that.
yes.
So where's our black major brands that's paying for black people's lawyers? Because there's a lot of black kids who are getting these shitty deals, who are just saying that they're guilty just so that they don't have to go away for the
Yes,
longest
Right.
periods of time. But they're
Right.
black billionaires that's not secret or angel investing in these lawyers for these kids. So
Right.
you want to talk about making a change, but then you want to only just do things that's clickbait that people are going to look at you and be like,
Right.
"Oh, this." No,
Right.
if you really want to, Johnson and Johnson, when they really support their people because they do that secretly. Like
Yeah.
nobody, you have to research who's paying for these.
Right.
This
Johnson and
police
Johnson
officer that
up, what
makes
up?
they
damn near the
lobby.
same amount I make a year.
Right.
How does he afford these $1 million lawyers? And then you start digging. It's the same company paying for every single one of them. So where's our black people
Because
on our
it's
end
all
doing
one
that?
family. They under a cult. I mean, it's
Yeah,
all
where's
one
our
family.
where's
but
our cult? If you're gonna have a cultist look in
agree.
school, like at least
agree.
support some black kids.
Yeah,
At
you,
least
you know
support
what?
their
You can put whatever the
lawyers.
hell you want on a
Right.
shirt if you coming out and
Right.
really helping the community
But
in that
once
kind of
it's
way.
like once we get to a certain, we want our love on the bottom. Once we get to a certain level, we forget about where we came from.
Yeah, but it's like it's if he's this activist, it's not about what you do as an activist. It's about what you do when no one's watching as well.
Yes,
That's
sir.
what I
Yes,
always
Because,
ma'am.
like I
say.
said, even with these Caucasian brands, they're not outly saying, "Hey, I paid for George Zimmerman.
No.
I
Right.
paid for this. Oh, we need to." No, they're just like, "Oh,
Here, oh, you
here,
need that? Here.
sorry, here,
Right.
that."
Under the parent.
Yeah, if you're
sister,
really
brother
about this
companies.
life, then shut up, like respectfully,
Right.
and still do what you're doing.
Right. I agree. I
love
agree.
that. I love
Talking
that.
about these Caucasian brands, I just was having this conversation just the other day. We were saying how some cheap brands, the fabrics is more better than
Yeah, of
the
course.
high fashion designers. And I want to know what's the difference. How you being in the fashion business such as you, how do you pick out the fabrics? Where do you go to get good brand? Where
So-
you wash it don't shrink, where it don't rip.
I feel like no matter what store you go to, as far as buying fabric, there's gonna be a higher end and a lower end in that same store. So just the regular garment district, you could go anywhere and get fabric. But when it comes to designing as a whole, I feel like when you start off, you're this hungry, passionate person. I feel like it's the same thing with music. You're hungry, you're passionate, you want people to know who you are, so you want the best so that you can brag about it and you can talk about it, with your chest held high and all of these things. But then when you make your millions, after a while, I feel as though their hunger goes away. So it's just like, it's like microwave. How can we get another brand out? Oh, it's September again. We got to get another brand out. January, okay. March, okay. It's like they don't care anymore. So that's why with me and that's why even Calvin Klein, he's actually my favorite designer. I feel like his quality has never
Never changed.
changed,
Right.
and that's why he's one of my favorite designers.
Right.
His to me, his cut is immaculate. How he stitches, whether it's people doing it for him, it's the quality and it's affordable, but it's
He has his
better.
different- he has his different tiers.
But it's like
Which
it's
is cool,
still
too.
it's quality, and I mean, I don't want to keep saying names just as an up and coming designer, but even like Michael Kors, I was like, when I was younger, I wanted this Michael Kors watch so badly, and I saved up my pennies, and I finally got this watch, and like months later, it's changing color.
Right.
Like,
And they don't know that. Like, whoa.
I was pissed.
Is it fake? Is it real? Like,
It's just the name. Like, you're
Just
not
the
even
name.
paying
It's
for
real, but that's
for-
what.
Just
But
the
that's
name.
what they're pumping out.
right.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know. I just don't think they care anymore.
Yeah, I can see that. What do you think about Balenciaga and the? I know you've seen the Lay's clutches. Like they have a bag that's like potato chips. They have a.
Wow.
I mean, A couple years ago, Balenciaga pissed me off. I talked about this on my social media. Balenciaga pissed me off when they came out. This was years ago when they came out with the Chinese slip. You know the Chinese
Oh yeah,
slipper.
I
Remember
remember
when they
that.
had the nerve?
Yeah.
I'm like, get the fuck out of
$5.
our archives.
Yeah.
Get out of our hood archives.
Right. Nah, but all
No,
these,
it was $1.
Yeah,
The
the
Chinese
Chinese
slipper was
slippers.
$1.
Yeah.
Right.
And then they came out with it, and then they made it like hundreds of dollars. Then our laundry bag, the blue red. Remember that one?
Yeah.
Then they came out with that one. So they've been doing this because that was like
but
7 years
all
ago.
these high fashion designers is going to the hood and they taking our old
Selling it
sneakers
back.
I don't
and
even.
they selling it back with their logo on it.
Well, I do agree with that. I don't want to say I don't, but I feel like it's even further. I feel as though it's like because they know that it'll get a rise out of us, they do it on
anyway.
purpose. Like I feel like it's clickbait. I feel like
Or
TikTok
do they
and
think
social
people are
media
gonna buy it? Because I feel like someone is gonna buy the Lay's.
is inspired by the Chinese slipper. Like even
Somebody's
know
gonna
the
buy
history
it.
of the Chinese slipper. If you
Yeah.
never went to the bodega with your
With the-
bonnet on,
with the Chinese
I
slippers.
had every flavor. Okay, I had every
or
flavor.
the late, it's like I think they're purposely doing it because it's like
brings
what
back
would
memory.
we think of? No, I think they're
We
like,
think of
oh
like-
yeah, how can we piss off black people again so that we can get like a bunch of publicity,
yeah.
and then it dies down. And I feel like they do this on purpose because we always talking about it. They're always a topic of conversation. Like it gets to
are
the point where I
so
feel like this is marketing.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. It could be
Gucci
some
with the
smart marketing.
jellies. They came out with the jellies.
Listen, you know what? I'm
Gucci
not
had
even.
the jellies
But listen,
on
at
deck.
least the jelly is an actual shoe.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't be
Right.
mad if you wanted to brand that. Like if you wanted to recreate that. I don't get mad when they want to recreate certain things. But
Yeah.
like you taking it too far when you doing the Chinese slipper and the
Right.
laundry bag.
Yeah, I think the
Right.
dad shoe was a cool recreation.
Which one?
The dad shoe, like that, pretty much like
I love the dad
Skechers
shoe.
or
I love the dad
I like
shoe.
that being the new brand or style of sneakers. I'm not mad at that.
Yeah, I wasn't mad at that either.
Dad shoes.
You got some
connoisseur.
dad shoes on there. I wasn't mad at that either. I just
Yeah.
don't like it when they do too much.
Yeah.
When they go deep in our archives, or when they do silly things
Yeah.
like the Lay's chips. But you never know because I like fashion. So if I see somebody fucking kill it, I'm gonna be like, yes, girl,
You pay
did that.
$1,000 for a lace.
I mean, I wouldn't. You would have to give it
Lay's
to me.
chip
I
bag.
feel like that's for the Lori Harveys of the world, or the people that are getting sent items.
Yeah.
Nobody's
Yeah.
really
It's for
buying
free.
that.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
for
like
free
you're
for
getting
them.
sent that, and
To
you're
model
gonna.
it.
But please, guys, do not buy that shit. I don't want y'all to buy that shit. Like, don't.
Please
So
don't.
so what inspires you to keep going? Like who was your role model? Who you look up to?
I would say my mom. I feel like that's the most cliche answer. My mother, my
that's
sister, my
good.
brother, like my family. I think that motivates me. And then I feel like, I don't have children yet, but my kids also motivate me because I want to be at a certain level that when I have kids, that it's just like, I don't have to be like known or famous or financially like, it just has to be, the ball just has to start rolling a little more. So I would say for just my future and, my next generation.
Is your sister going to be a part of your show?
Not this one. My sister, she looks a lot like me. So, but she's not going to be at this show. She actually, I think, has an event as well that day because she went into doing music and producing and stuff. So she just dropped her EP. So she's kind of on her.
Love it.
her
Talented
thing.
family.
Yeah.
I love that.
Y'all in the game.
But my brother will be there. He's
Your brother
like,
will be there.
my brother, he is the head of my visuals. So
Yes, I
You know.
really love that. I think
Yeah.
it's important that you have family around and you have family and close
Yeah.
friends involved in your stuff.
So your family is you family orientated with your business.
yeah. I like to, because, we're always going to bump heads, but I like to be as much as we don't have to do the same thing. But if I need help, he's there and vice versa. He is a YouTuber. He does videography and photography. So it's like, oh, I need this. And, I'm a designer. I know how to design really well. He was telling me about certain people that he needs as assistants that I never heard of in my life. And I try to do, that's why I try to have him be a part of the team because he's not going to do me wrong.
Yes.
And he's going to have the best interest for me. So I like to keep my family around me.
And I love that they all have different components that they can. I mean, I love the family thing, but
Yeah.
do you guys fight? Like, is there?
Oh, yeah, of course. All the time. Like, definitely.
What do you tell a young woman that's watching this show that wants to be a fashion designer, want to be a model, but they don't know who to talk to, where to go? People is kind of like telling them, nah, just do this, just do that, trying to steer them away from being a model. What do you tell them?
I mean, I feel like I was that person that people were like, don't, no, no, because I didn't go to school for this, or I'm the only one that is in my family who didn't go to college, even though I'm going back in February.
Congratulations. Are you going for fashion?
But
I'm sorry. Are you going for
yeah,
fashion? Okay.
for fashion and fashion technology.
Dope.
Okay.
So, but I would say to, I don't want to sound cliche again, but just keep going. But with continuing, you have to be very stern with yourself. You have to act like it's a 9 to 5. Because sometimes people are like, sometimes people are right. It's like, yo, you shouldn't do this because it's like they know your work ethic. Like, as bad as that sounds, you have to have a work ethic because this is not hard. You have to have thick skin because this is not easy. I
Right.
mean, so it's like in just moving forward and don't let, certain things like fog up your vision. You have to be very stern. You have to be very disciplined.
Yes,
I
yes,
think
Right.
that's
I
the word I'm
understand.
looking for. It's
Yeah.
like very, very
Because
disciplined.
you have to make your own hours and stick to them. Nobody's
Exactly.
gonna like hold you accountable but yourself.
Yeah, I literally just had with my other partner today. I was like, yeah, because I have to finish my sewing by such and such time. I was up for transparency. I didn't sleep yet because I was up all night sewing
Oh my
because my
gosh.
fitting was today, and I had to make sure that all of the pieces looked a certain way. And they're like, it's your show. Like, just move the fitting. And I'm like, no, because I still have deadlines. Even if I'm the one who put that deadline for myself, it's like I know what I need to do in order for the show to be what it needs to be. So I'm not going to procrastinate on anything because I'm going to act like it's a job.
Right.
If my boss said to finish something by Sunday the 9th, then I need to finish it by Sunday the 9th or
Right.
else I'm fired.
Right.
So you need to act that same way with your own business.
Right. Now you said that you're going back to school. Now, are you going back to school for yourself, or are you going back to school because you need a degree on a level that you're trying to get to?
I'm going back to school for knowledge, obviously, but I feel like sometimes, like with certain contracts or certain things, like I'm at a wall where it's like, I learn a lot from social media or YouTube or TikTok or whatever, or Google, but it's like it gets to the point where, I would like to know exactly how this is blueprint at this point with certain things in the industry or with fashion. So, why not read the blueprint? And even though there are classes that help you with these things. I think half of the decision was for knowledge, but the fact that I went back to school instead of those classes was because everybody in my family just wanted me to have a degree. So it was like, you know what, two birds, one stone.
Right.
Like,
Got
fine.
you.
I feel like I've made it
Got
to a
you.
certain level of success where it's just like, okay, I told y'all that I could have done this, but also,
Now
we got to go even,
happy.
we got to go even further. I just don't like. I'm a person, I dabble in everything. I want to learn everything, even if I'm not doing it. I want to know that if I'm paying somebody to do something, that it's being done at a certain standard.
You don't want
And
nobody to
that's
get over on you.
yeah. So it's just like, I just want to be able to cross my T's, dot my I's, and just have knowledge, just
Now,
learn.
being a woman, is it, do you know about Walkerwear?
Walkaway?
Yeah.
What's that?
Walkerwear was a brand back in the days, like with cross colors. It was a woman fashion designer, right?
Okay.
Is it hard? First of all, I want to ask you, do you design men clothes?
Yeah.
Okay. Being a woman, how do you get your tips? Through your models or through your brothers, through your family members that make men's clothes? Because I know it's easy to make women's clothes.
I actually like making men's clothes more than women's clothes. I think it's
'Cause
easier to make men's clothes
'cause
for
you know
me.
what you wanna see your
Yeah, I
man
know
in.
exactly.
Got
And
you.
it's also like I try to be innovative as well and revolutionary. I think every designer likes to be. So it's like, okay, I get inspired by, what I see around me, but it's like, but how can we push this? I like to kind of push things a little bit. Like, I would have a pair of men's pants like these silver pants that I'm wearing right now, So I'm sorry, what was the question again? I kind of like went on a
How do you
tangent.
design for guys?
Yes, how do you
Yeah.
design for guys?
Yeah, so just half inspiration and half taking that and just trying to put it to the next level.
But I find like most there's a majority of men designers in the fashion world, and they all design for women.
Yeah, I feel
I
like
don't think it's like a limit on
Yeah.
the gender.
Right.
yeah, I agree. I feel like some of the men designers don't even design for men.
They don't design for
yeah,
men, they do
I think it's the
women's.
women's designers
Right.
that's like, oh, inclusive,
Right.
inclusivity.
Yeah.
Like, but yeah.
This is dope, man.
Do you like to wear menswear? I love to wear menswear.
I do like to wear. I think I like to wear men's clothes, but I had a time where like I said, I was super, super slim. So
So
I
it wasn't
feel
giving.
like it wasn't
It was
giving.
giving top. It was giving boy.
But
It was giving.
yeah, it was. But then it was like a time that I was like really worked on, how I looked and my body, and I was like, I'm gonna show off this body, and then I started being like super like a nudist at this point. But now I'm finding like a nice balance, maybe just with age,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
of them both. So sometimes I would wear like really something tight with something baggy and mix it up a little bit.
The
Yeah.
Leah look.
Yeah, I
So
think
you
that's
said
coming
you was
back.
an A&R, right?
Yeah, for the most part, I would say artist development
Artist
instead of
development.
A&R.
So do that come with your own clothing line?
What do you
Like
mean?
when you got an artist come to
Uh-huh.
you, do you put your clothes on them?
Yeah, definitely. Of course. Like, oh, you're doing this performance. Okay, well, I'll bring artists or designers that I know to the table as well. But it's like you're gonna wear this too. Like, why
Right.
not? And they love it. It's not like I'm forcing them to do it. It's not in the contract.
Right.
But
Nice.
I would definitely. I always, just let it be known because if it's ever forgotten that I'm a designer as well, it's like, even one of the artists who I work with now, like a lot of people were like, I'm happy because it's like working with her style and this and this. Like I feel like it's like it goes hand in hand because with artist
You always need
development, you have to
clothes.
look a certain way as
Yeah.
well.
Right.
You
You
always
definitely
need the
do.
gear. That's a big. That's a big proponent. Like.
Yeah, and people don't like buying things. And especially in this day and age
Yeah,
with
they
social
rather pull
media,
it
you have to
and.
wear it once and then you can't wear it again. So it's like, yeah, okay, I'll pull something for you for my line, and then
Right.
So how does our artists come to you for artist developments?
how it started with me a few years ago. I just had friends that were in places, and then I would see another person that needed said friend. So I would just be like, "Oh, you should meet. Oh, you should meet." And then I would see relationships blooming and money being made, and I'm just like, "Good for them." But I'm just like,
How can I get
all the way
inside
back
this?
here. Like, so
Add my tax, please.
yeah,
Hello.
like
And
so
my
it got
finder's fee.
yeah, so it got to the
Finder's
point where
fee.
sometimes it's like, okay, that's exactly like what you said, put your tax on top of something or like gatekeep, but I'm not that person, I want people to win.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'll be like, oh, do this and you me, but then it gets to the point where it's like people aren't as nice as I am. Where it's like,
Right.
oh, Roxy's the reason why I'm here,
Right.
so I'm gonna this. So now we have to sign a contract in order for
Right.
that. Now we have to have, or even if it's not signing a contract yet, just building that relationship, moving forward towards
Yeah.
that.
I
So
love
it's
how you
like,
keep the saying moving forward. Shout out to moving forward. I love that you keep saying this.
I
Yo.
mean, period. That's what's going on here.
mhm.
So what do you want for the future of your brand?
I mean, for the near future, I want to open up my boutique finally, like maybe in the
Really? Like
next
brick and
year.
mortar? Ooh.
Within like a year, and then I would like for it to be, Macy's. Sorry, Macy's,
With
Bloomingdale's,
Prosecco's.
like all of the maybe. You're nicer than Nori. He'd be like, drink it, take a shot, take a shot. But yeah, just being just those major high end department stores. For
Okay.
now,
What
yeah.
department store like is your? Let's manifest while we're here, baby. What
I
department
would
store do you want to see yourself
say
in?
Bloomies.
Yes.
Always
Always
Bloomies.
going.
Macy's. What is
I
it?
feel
Bird
like
of
Macy's
Goodman.
has like a section of up and coming designers.
Yeah.
Yes, like and now I think they rotate it out
Someone
every
told
month.
me that, and
Yes.
it just, I'm happy that I'm gonna look into that because that kind of completely slipped my mind.
Yeah.
But just going into like heavily manufacturing, I'm from Trinidad, so I do want to go to Trinidad and just open up a factory and just manage my clothes there or manufacture my clothes there, and just get it overseas to different department stores.
Talking about factories, Rihanna was going through something with the sweatshop. How is it, when you're dealing with that quality and you want constant, you needed to keep coming. How do you get it going without actually having these workers in sweatshops working for pennies?
People like, and I'm not saying I don't have a view on this, but I think people like to say stuff like that and then they're very content with the price, But then as soon as Rihanna drops in something that's $100 more, they're like, "Oh, Rihanna's prices are too high." Because it's like pick one, because either you're going to get the mass production where it's minimum wage or even less than that, or you're going to get something done at get a product at a really high price. So I don't have a view on it. I just want people before
Just
they
throwing
say
that out
something,
there. Just
just
throwing that
understand
out
which one
there.
do you want. Do you care about this, or do you want to pay that? Because that's what
Quality
you're
or
gonna.
quantity?
Yeah, that's what you're gonna If you get something made in America, I think Khloe Kardashian, her Good American jeans are made in America, and she's probably one of the only Kardashians that didn't have like a sweatshop,
Yeah.
something. And it's like her jeans are regular jeans, but they're very expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So it's just the fight that you got to choose. Which one do you really want to argue about?
And I think that I think the awareness is key. And as a consumer,
Yeah.
once you are aware, you can decide how you choose
Yeah.
to consume.
Yeah, I agree. Because even I think with Victoria's Secret, was it? I don't want to say names and like
Yeah.
be wrong, but I think it was Victoria's Secret that has their clothes being made in jail for like 3 cents.
Child, yes,
So-
and that's
See?
and that's
ours is the
the-
new black kind of like they covered
See?
it without calling the thing a thing. But
Yeah.
yeah, that is. Yes.
But now Rihanna has lingerie that's being made in sweatshops, but it's like, okay, are we purposely imprisoning our black men to have them wear these clothes?
to send
Or are we
to send
gonna-
it to their
are we
girls to
gonna
take
talk-
pictures in?
Exactly. Or are we going to talk about Rihanna with sweatshops? It's like, stuck between a rock and a hard place. Like, lesser, which one's
Yeah.
worse?
That's
or
the whole thing with the whole conversation of fashion right now.
it's how.
It's very difficult because on one end, most people that consume it really can't afford to consume anything else. Like that's the price bracket that they're in. And so, you're asking the people who really can't afford to buy anything more to be the ones that are self-conscious. And it's really like it's a bigger picture. It's a bigger
and then
issue. You know
the
what I'm
people
saying?
that can't afford it get it for free because
Right.
they're advertising it for the people who can't
Right.
afford
Right.
it. It's like this never-ending
Yeah.
cycle.
And that's the catch-22.
Right.
The
Yeah.
people who you getting, who you seeing, it never pay for it.
Yeah.
No.
The people that can't afford it is the one that's buying it.
Yes, for sure.
Talk
Oh,
about it.
There's a lot of politics behind
Yeah.
the fashion game, but I don't think it's at the level where, our urban designers should be catching the heat. I think like it's a big political issue that starts at the top, government down.
Yeah.
And so I don't really want to rain on any of our parades.
Yeah. And I think I saw a post that was like, I want to support black businesses, but I don't want to pay $40 for chick or something like that. But it's like when you talk about manufacturing, like we are steps behind, So when it talks about manufacturing certain things, we might not know those ins and outs as yet. So it's like just bear with us as black designers until we, help us help you, helping us.
I mean, like some are doing it. We got Telfar, we got Brendan Blackwood.
Yeah,
and
yep.
I think they have what we would consider moderate pricing.
Yeah,
and
we're getting
still
there.
Luxury brand. So
They
I
were
think
saying
we're,
how they don't want to deal with Telfar no more because they did a deal with the collaboration
We're Rainbow.
we're Rainbow.
with Rainbow.
That wasn't a collab.
Yeah, they
though.
just rented the
That
store.
wasn't a collab.
Oh, they just rented
They
the
just
store.
rented the
See?
store
See, I
there,
know that.
yeah.
It's like how
rented the store.
they
And
And
lose
it's
the
like, y'all
value
shopping
or
at
something
Rainbows
like that.
anyway. Like,
Hello, the reason why is because they have a color spectrum of bags. The name
Rainbow.
Rainbow.
Yeah.
oh, I didn't even know that.
I think some people were
Nobody
like,
knew until the next day.
I caught it early, but I think some people were like, Rainbow. I'm like, but that's the Fashion Nova. Rainbow Fashion Nova are
Oh, the
giving the same
same
thing,
exact
baby.
thing.
They
Yep.
they were getting their shit from the same
Thank you.
place.
Thank you.
But I think nobody's never gonna stop messing with Telfar. Beyonce
Yeah.
gonna keep wearing Telfar. People gonna still want to buy it.
And she shove the Birkin bag or something like
yeah,
that.
she started shuffling the Birkin for the Telfar.
Oh,
on
that's
her
fire.
latest album. So
She said she has her bag in storage, her Birkin in storage, and
That's
she wearing her
fire.
tail for it. Like
That's
he'll
fire.
be fine.
I want all of our black brands to get on that level.
Right.
Like I want us to continue to support each other because there was at
Yeah.
one point in time where black folks would not buy a Telfar, would not buy a Brandon
Yeah.
Blackwood bag. You
But
know,
what you got to do to get to that next level?
Moving forward, once it now that time
Oh,
I said it.
I
That
love
time I
this
said it
thing.
on
I
purpose.
love this.
But it's like you just got to keep going because there's gonna be a lot of obstacles. I feel like every black family or father or mother or parent in that household told their kids working twice as hard to get half as far.
Yes.
So it's those people who really got grit and like work ethic that move forward because I'm sure he got his doors shut in his face hundreds and hundreds of times, It's just keep going.
there's a lot of them. I feel like Hood by Air is about to come back out to another
Right.
black designer. Who
Rhoxy Lezama.
Roxy
Talk,
pulling up on
talk,
our show
Roxy.
next
Manifesting
week.
it.
Okay, Roxy. Do you think it's important to get a celeb in your brand? Do you think let's talk blueprint. Let's cut all the bullshit and let's talk like real strategy. Do you think how important on a scale of 1 to 10 is it to get your brand on a celeb in order to make it co-signable?
I feel like it's important. I don't think people. I think there's a difference. There's a difference in only going for that because, like we said earlier, you don't know who these celebrities really even are, and you don't want it to be like as soon as
Ooh,
you're
then they
connected with this
cancel, then they
celebrity so much, and then they
cancel.
get canceled. Exactly. So I don't think you should move like, oh, we got to get on a celebrity, we got to but just keep doing what you're doing, but it's just a different branch of marketing. You
Yeah.
could market this way, market with radio, come to the
Right.
podcast.
Shout out to moving forward.
Exactly.
But how about you get your clothes on a celeb and they don't tag you in it, but
Yeah,
they
that's
take a
happened to
picture
me
in
all
it?
the time. That happened to me a lot of times.
How do you feel about that? Don't you
It's
feel
crazy.
like
I had
don't
even
like
worse
that?
happen. I had a jacket and I also put my patches, my logo on it, and they took my
Oh, hell
patch
to the
off
no.
of the jacket. But they did pay for it. It was their makeup artist who
bought
reached
it.
out to me, yeah, and then they paid for it.
At
and
least
then
they
took
bought
off.
it. I mean, I hate that they removed
but
the logo.
still,
But we
it's
need to
like
give you the credit. Mm-hmm. So it's
So
like,
the thing,
is
but
you
no, the
hating
thing that they
and you
say
don't
though,
want-
if they buy it, they don't need to give you the credit.
yeah, that's true.
That's the thing. If they buy it, but like
That's true, but
if you want it for gratis, then it's an exchange.
Okay.
You know,
but people be
Tag me in
hashtagging
it. I
Gucci
got
just
you.
because they're excited that they have $1,000 sneakers on. So if you're
Right.
excited to wear your Gucci, be excited to wear me as
Be
well. If you
excited to
like
wear
my clothes
Rhoxy.
enough to
Yeah.
buy it, that means
So
you
why
like
do
it
you think
enough
they
to
took
tag
off
it.
the thing?
That's right.
I mean, it was maybe a little belligerent, but it was still like my brand because at the time I was making like military jackets, so
Yeah.
it said the name tape would be.
Yes, yes, yes,
So
yes,
I
yes.
guess they.
That's not crazy though, because
I-
I mean that's a little subdued.
Yeah, I feel like with it being military, people would want their name on their
On it,
military
okay.
jacket.
Got it.
But still, it's like
No.
Oh,
that was a little.
so and
Low blow.
you've had
Yeah.
others that have gotten your things and not tagged.
Yeah. And that's why sometimes it's like even going through the stylist too, because at the end of the day, sometimes people don't even care that these celebrities are wearing I don't
They
want
don't
to
know
say
what they're
like
wearing. They're just getting it from the stylist and like,
but
putting it
people
on.
who really like what you're wearing, if the stylist majority of the time gets tagged, people would do their research,
Right.
So I feel like people have found me from certain things before, or like with support system as well, just tagging me under posts like, oh, this is Rhoxy's,
Yeah.
Rhoxy, so but
It's rough. I mean,
Yeah.
that the marketing game is rough. So not
Mm-hmm.
because it's not only like the celebs, but it's also the influencers. I know
Yeah.
everybody wants Jada in their stuff. Like,
Yeah.
what I feel like she's a social
Right.
media gold mine.
Yeah.
But then like there's a clique of people, and then there's always an issue where somebody doesn't pay or somebody doesn't post
But
a lot
that
of
only
posts.
happens when there's no contracts, and I
Yeah.
feel as though us in the Black community sometimes it's just like, oh my god, we're just so excited, and then there's no contract, and that's something I'm preaching to myself as well because there's sometimes where I'm like, I should have made them sign a contract, or but I feel as
So
though
like, when did you get burned? Tell us a story so that people watching, you don't have to say any names, but so that people watching can.
I don't know if I can talk about that
Let's
until
talk
court.
about it, baby.
I might because I might be taking them to court.
She said we had the court
So I don't wanna-
proceedings. All right, Cardi B.
I'll wait a little bit. But it's something that's going on right now, so
It's an
Right.
ongoing legal case. So we'll get it. We'll get it on a
We'll
part
get
two.
into that one day.
I'm gonna catch her
One
next
day,
year's
because I'll be
fashion show,
excited
I'm
to talk about it soon.
when you get your shit back, when you get your retribution, and then you can come and tell us about
Yeah.
it. I
Is
do
that
think
bad?
these stories are important because they are lessons that people learn through stories.
Yeah, I don't think that is that bad to answer that question, but it's principle. I'm a very principled person,
It's about principles.
So because of a lesson, I was a person that was very passive growing up. So I feel like
Yeah,
I'm
me too.
very adamant, like with disrespect
Put
as an
some
adult.
respect on my
So,
motherfucking name.
I'm just being very strategic on how things are gonna go, so that I don't want to say blackball myself, because like I said, with being in your own lane, no one can blackball you. You know,
you don't
'cause
want to hinder.
I don't want to hinder any or have anybody talking negatively on me, because sometimes people, when they owe you something, they act like
honey,
y'all beefing,
Right. Right.
So, but sometimes when that person is a person of stature, you gotta
careful.
tiptoe a certain way.
Right.
So
I mean, I love that you're discussing this. This is not something that people are comfortable talking about. You have to know how to maneuver in any industry that you're in. Like, you cannot just go balls in. You have to be strategic. It's chess, not checkers.
especially as a woman, like I don't want to be like, but if if a man would have came and like been rah-rah or whatever, it would have been like, oh well, I respect him because
If he would have
principle
Dame
it.
Dash the situation.
Yeah, but if it's a woman, it's like, oh, she's being emotional. Oh, she's a bitch. Like, I think that's another thing that growing up I had to be okay with because I am a bitch and you're going to respect me because you only respect me when I'm a bitch, apparently. So let me be, you know? It's like sometimes you just have to just be a little bit more stern and not worry about how people look at you in a negative aspect. Just as long as it's done, like with business.
With business. But like you said, when we handle business, we always bear the risk of being called, emotional and a bitch, as opposed to like when a man does it, it is what it is. And then people could dab it up and move on. But when it's with a woman, it might,
Just
be
act like I'm not here. I'm
act
like I'm not here.
That dog might holler. Okay.
I'm act like I'm not here.
I mean, we're about to close it out, Rhoxy. So please give us your social media handles, all the information where we can find you. It's been such a pleasure having you here.
Yes.
And we are going to be at your fashion show.
Yes, you
Definitely.
are.
Next weekend. Give us the tea.
So the fashion. I don't know. I can. I'm gonna blame that. I'm gonna blame the bubble. But my fashion show is going to be at Wyckoff Window Studio. That's 49 Wyckoff Avenue, Brooklyn, New York. Bushwick, New York. It's I think Jefferson on the L train.
Okay.
Tickets are on my website. You guys can also get them.
Yes, we will post it for you.
Yes.
Yes, we will post it. I'll
for
post
you
it on
right now.
my personal page, podcast page.
All of that.
Thank you. And all social media platforms is Rhoxy Lezama. That's RHOXY. Lezama, LEZAMA. And that's everything except for Instagram. It's Rhoxy Official.
But where do they get your clothes at?
RhoxyLezama.com.
You got the link and they click that. And
so I have like 2 lines. If you want anything custom made, then you'll have to, hit me up directly. But I have my manufactured line as well that you could just go on the website and cop something off of there. It's relaunching with my new line after my fashion show on the 18th. So you could check out some new pieces there soon.
We got a little bit of time left, so I want to ask a question I didn't get to ask you. Relationship?
I was going to ask that, but I got scared after a while. I was like, you know what? I'll save that.
Okay, here's why I asked. Because when somebody is doing what you're doing and working hard, like, it might be harder to sustain or even, have the time to really cultivate
Rhoxy's
romance.
Gonna date a model. She's gonna date a model.
I don't think your type is a model. I don't think your type is a model.
I'm a very stern person, right? So it's like with my business, and I feel like sometimes even women as a figure, sometimes it's like as they could accomplish everything under the sun, and then as soon as you say this is my boyfriend, it's like everything is because of him. I can't even go into rooms with some of my business partners because they're just like, oh, that's probably her boyfriend. So and they would talk to them, and it's like, no, we're having a meeting right now. Not I'm the person that you're talking to, and I feel as though sometimes when even in a relationship or not in a relationship, if you speak about a guy for some reason, all of your success equates to the male, So even in relationships or out of relationships, I just genuinely don't like to, publicize it. I'm a very private person,
Okay, it's all good, though. He ain't gonna be like, yo, why you never shout me out? Yo, I gave you that idea to rock the crop top with the puffy.
But I feel like
he gonna tag you like, I gave her the name of that lip gloss.
I gave you the name of that, yo. You ain't gonna do that. I
God.
told you to put the reflector on the straps.
That's what one of my my ex from like a long time ago, like 10 years ago when I first made my brand. I spoke to him the other day and we got into it and he said that. And I'm like, just because people are around you when you're doing an idea, they feel like, oh yeah, because you would have been. I'm like,
I was part of the creation process. Like, so I did it.
May hoes say, okay, so make another hoe.
Right. Talk about it. Make another Rhoxy.
You on my
so
way.
good having you, Rhoxy. I love you so much. I can't wait to see what you bring down the runway, baby.
Thank you.
Like, once you come on the show, we family now.
Yes.
So don't act hungry.
Got you. Once we have we finish a bottle of Prosecco together,
In a minute.